there was one more discussion around the one return form which they said will be applicable from Jan 20th. Now they are proposing it in such a way that from July to September it will be on trial basis. From October they'll start migrating the taxpayers into the system, and from Jan 2020 they'll move everyone into the new simplified returns. What is your take on this, and what are your views around the new simplified form which the government has put up?
See, the direction is wonderful. Just like GST was a wonderful concept, absolutely no problem. But leaving out certain key things, implementation issues actually clouded this whole GST. Just like that, I think the direction that you should have a simplified form is very much needed, because simplicity is needed in India. And we'll also go a few notches up in ease of doing business in India. However, this particular form, I think, is a little wishful thinking, and for implementing at this point of time, maybe a little more time could be given. First clear out the major issues which are there now, and then go into that. Bringing it in the middle of the year also could be an issue. So I think that it's a bit premature. And as far as the professionals are concerned, I think if you look at the general trend which is happening across the world, and also India has started adopting, you will find the lower end work will not be viable at all. And I think utilities, either given by GSTN or by software companies, the utilities will take over. For example, why should I go and do a vendor-wise reconciliation of credits, which may take me 10 days, 20 days for a medium-sized concern, when a software can do it in 15 minutes? Right. So then where is my preeminence? So professionals will, I think, very seriously have to move into understanding the law and being able to support the client in being compliant, ensuring that disputes do not happen, because disputes are very expensive in GST. It's an indirect tax law, and disputes, I expect millions, not lakhs, millions of disputes. And many people are actually getting ready for it. They are putting lawyers into their lawyers have started taking people with GST knowledge and training themselves in GST. So I think that the professionals certainly have to become a little more learning oriented and move beyond just the filing of a return blindly. Without verification, filing of a return will be something which the system will take care of. No individual is required. No Venugopal, no Madhukar, nobody is required for this.
Sure. Mr. Venu, there's a lot more focus on matching in the new simplified form, and also on locking and unlocking of invoices. So what are your views on that? How will that change the whole infrastructure which the country is currently going in? Because today we have got filing GSTR1, getting GSTR3B. Now we'll go into uploading, which is similar to GSTR1, but then you will have all the locking, unlocking, and then a lot of matching come into consideration.
Right.
So can you just throw a bit of light on the whole system and how it will impact the taxpayers?
Right. So I would also add one question voluntarily on this is, what are the other challenges in the new returns which they need to be geared up? Now if I have to compare the new returns, and the concept of GST was always a matching of the invoice and the input tax credit, and that's where the GSTR 1, 2, 3 had come. And is the new return, has it replaced GSTR 1, 2, 3, or is it coming in a new form? Is GSTR 1, 2, 3 coming in the new form? If we have to try to understand that, I would say that the new GST RET1 and NX1 and 2 is nothing much different between the old GSTR 1, 2 and 3. Just that there is a change in the form, and even the earlier also, in the initial when GST was launched, the discussion was it was only one return one needs to file. So GSTR 1 and 2 was a statement which is uploaded, so it's only one return. And what was much preached at that point is everything is auto-populated and it gets filed automatically. But that system failed. Two reasons. One, the backend, again, GSTN was not ready. The second reason was the form is complicated. very complicated. Though it was said that okay, it is auto-populated and you just have to accept and file it, but it was not so as simple as it was thought. If I have to say three main reasons why it failed, especially when it came to GSTR2, it was expected that you select each invoice. Like if I take a small business where they have 100 purchases, 100 invoices in a month, and if one has to select each invoice and take an action on that, it's not practical. And what action is, like I have to choose whether I have to accept that or mark it as pending or reject it. One action needs to be taken. The second challenge which was around that is, again each invoice, that invoice has to be categorized and segregated between input, whether it is input services or a capital good. The third challenge which came up is you further classify that invoice as what is the HSN of that. Now when this action needs to be taken in a GSTR2, which only then the input credit comes in, and the window that was there between 11th to 15th was like too tight, and that was the three main reasons why GSTR2 could not be there. Of course, then the form did not got suspended. Maybe I think if it is explored further, maybe some other issues could have been come up, and by now maybe would have settled. But beautifully, the new form in the Annex 2, which they have said is okay. This, as you asked about what is this locking, accepting, the way they have designed and made it is like you have an option to take an action. And they said not doing anything is also an action. All the things is deemed that it would be accepted.
Right.
And that's where they dispensed off that effort of that. The second thing, the HSN is now made optional or not required for GSTR2 or Annex 2. And the third thing they have done is this concept of input services, capital goods need not be taken for each invoices. They said, but they brought it at the end of the form, if you whatever is the total credit taken, segregate. They have relaxed a bit. I wouldn't say that what originally it was talked about. I am talking about in the month of May 2017 or April 2017, even when the law is not effective. If you hear about various sessions which the government has hosted and GSTN spokesman spoke, they said the GSTR2 and 3 is simple. You don't need to do anything. It is only accept and file. And that was a wishful thinking where people said, okay, we will have, there is only one return and you just need to submit. Now, that was not the reality. That's where it failed. Now, will the new returns again address that is something which we need to see. The way the form is drafted, it appears to be simple, but again, the simplicity would again has to be tested. As of initially we said, okay, how is GSTN going to design this form? Because what we see in the notified form versus the look and feel on the portal would be a little different, and orientation to that is something which is required.
Right. So in this new system which is there, we also have two new forms in Sugam and Sahaj.
Right.
For less than 5 crore turnover. So how do you think this will pan out? Like, do you think a lot of taxpayers will be moving into this new forms, or would they be continuing in the similar direction even if their turnover is less than 5 crores?
Okay, if you look at the form, both RET 2 and 3, those Sahaj and Sugam, see there is nothing much change. If I read the entire main form RET 1, they have removed certain tables which is not required for the small payers and made it simple. In fact, the table numbers for those Sahaj and Sugam is retained the same. You will find 3A and suddenly 3H. So in between table numbers from the main return has been hidden or taken out for the small filers. It is just the number of tables which would be appearing on the screen for a user to file has been reduced. I don't see there is any change in the form. So the education of the form required is the same. What is important is less than 5 crores the taxpayers would go to a quarterly mode. What is the bigger concern the main dealers have is, okay, how are my credits protected? Because since now we are saying that the credits are auto-populated and you will be taking it like what is there in 2A, which is there in Annex 2. If that is the only credit, okay, quarterly filers are filing on a quarterly basis, how much I can put my working capital and wait for it. So those are the challenges which the industry or business needs to look at it. and get educated more and design their accounting systems and the softwares around it is what I feel.
Right.
I want to add something.
Yeah. Sure.
I have only one suggestion for the consultants as well as the industry, that it's better to go for a normal form, because whatever said and done, the GST amount getting stuck for 3 months is a very serious issue. And not only getting stuck, as far as the purchaser is concerned, creating doubt in his mind on my intention whether I am going to pay or not, because they will get reports saying Hiragangi and Associates has not paid. You don't know whether I have gone for this form or that form or what I have done, and therefore you are going to say, why should I deal with him? I will deal with Venu, where every month it's appearing. So there will be a disadvantage for these small people. My suggestion is, if possible, even SMEs who have an option to go for these simpler forms or quarterly filing should not opt for it in the interest of their own business, though it does mean a little more work.
Right.
Yeah. One other point we can add, sir, is though we talk about this quarterly filing, even now we have GSTR 1 quarterly filing, but we are filing GSTR 3B on a monthly basis.
Right.
Given that they have to do an effort of computing what is their liability, what is the input tax credit, and file a form on a monthly basis. It's not that it is completely dispensed off into the quarterly.
Correct.
Even in the new system, you still have to file a monthly form and a quarterly return. In fact, there has been so much talk that there is an adoption of the new returns by the large taxpayers, and small taxpayers will go to the new return only in the month of January. But unfortunately, it is reversed. The small taxpayers are the first one who would get exposed to the new returns because their GSTR 3B is replaced with PMT 08. So they should be educated that there is a change in form for them.
Right.
And though it is you may call it as a tax payment challan, but it still has input tax credit out similarly equivalent to like GSTR 3B, and which they will be starting from the month of October. And the large taxpayers are filing GSTR 1 and Annex 1. They would continue with 3B and they will migrate only maybe 2 months later.
Right.
So the need of understanding the form is also higher. The system would fail if the education is less, and if the form is again not designed simple.
Right.
So both needs to be taken care, in my view.